Hello and welcome to episode 41 of Let's Talk Tactics. I'm your host, Zach Bro.
Hey, I'm Donovan.
And I'm Luck.
And this week we are joined by the most recent champion of Class Match, WoodyWins. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so it was a new name up in that number one spot, which is sweet to see. We're going to get his sort of take on the Class Match 10 meta, how his experience went with it, decisions he made for team building and all of that. But first, we'll start as we always do, which is with our sort of interview questions. So give us the general overview of your history with the franchise, Final Fantasy in general, how you got into War of the Visions, and then what kind of drew you to live PvP as sort of a focus, which I'm assuming it is your focus.
Yeah, definitely the focus. Started as I think probably with a lot of folks in childhood playing Final Fantasy 8, Final Fantasy 7, and Tactics were my three defining games as a kid, and went through that, lived those games, played it in and out, through and through multiple times, and got into college, and I think that was right around shortly after 10.2 came out, and kind of video games kind of went a little bit more to the back of my life, and got interested in other things, and didn't stop playing for, I don't know, 5+ years at that point, and then randomly was on, I think I was on YouTube, or maybe even casually playing some random game while I was sitting on an airplane one day, and an advertisement came up, and it was War of the Visions, and it really leaned into that tactics kind of side of it, and I was just like, oh my god, what is
Must
this?
have.
Must have. Didn't even know what a gacha was when I got into it. And I'm sure Gumi and Square Enix are quite happy with their advertising spend on that particular ad, because it got me, and they've taken me for a ride, willingly, mind you. But it definitely was kind of one of those life moments of not playing games, and then okay, now I do this.
Right.
And now we're almost a year and a half in, and here we are.
Now, what about the sort of PvP aspect made you really enjoy that over maybe focusing on? Well, maybe you do raids and stuff too, but what kind of drew you into live PvP?
Just an overall competitiveness. It also felt like, okay, if I'm going to be spending all this time farming all of this gear constantly, then what's the payoff?
Right. Exactly. Yep.
And the only because I don't know, PvE just it doesn't get the, I don't know, the juices flowing. It's there, but everything's pretty beatable once you get to a certain account age. If I don't know really the best way to put it, but it just, I don't know, it doesn't get the mind going. And
it's like a critical mass of resources, right? Like where you kind of have these units that are like, oh, I just happen to have this maxed and happen to have this maxed, and some extra gear here and there. And yeah, I know the feeling.
Precisely. And so the live aspect of it was just so, it's me versus you. I'm controlling my own destiny. You can have the better comp, but maybe I can outposition, or I can choose my engage in a certain way where I pick somebody off, or create an advantage.
Right.
And so it just felt much more direct, and it feels like the only time I'm actually playing the game, not just putting it on auto and putting it aside for a while, and an arena, just I would watch it and I would just get so frustrated watching the AI make suboptimal decisions that I do the minimum 5 a day. I have probably 80 to 100 reset potions at this point, just sitting there, because I feel that's one of the only parts of the game that truly feels like a chore for me.
You are not alone.
Yeah, I think Daniel and I had this conversation recently. I think he wasn't as bad as me, but I told him, real talk, I haven't done a match of arena except for bingo boards in 2 months. I just literally have not done it, haven't enjoyed it. I mean, the payoff's there, there's reasons to do it, but just I'd rather go farm a couple extra rounds of something else or something. I just
No, totally,
completely
totally. I
drained.
do the minimum, get by, and then I'm hoping since they started switching up the free match that free match can come back to life. So
Mhm.
this is my plea to the public, to those watching: do your free matches. Like, you
Yeah,
used to be
right.
able to churn through 20 plus matches in a day, no problem, and now it's like struggling to get my 5 in, which is so makes me sad. But
Yeah. I
alas,
wish.
no. From kind of chatting with a few randoms on the official Discord, it just seems like people just don't really get into live in the same way that I do, and I'm sure the three of you share that fire, that love for it.
Yeah, well, for all my love and fire, apparently I didn't realize they changed the free map recently. I had no
Yeah,
idea it's
Oh
been
no,
changing.
I pointed that out. Yeah.
So I just
it's been
haven't even
changed
I haven't
twice.
even looked at it. I've been so like jaded and pissed off about it being the same map, and like apparently they changed it. I completely missed that. I all the times I tune into the PvP server, I guess I never saw someone explicitly say that. So yeah, I might have to go do some matches later and check out the maps. But
Oh yeah. No, it's good stuff now. There's definitely no first turn Geese Blade. It's just not a thing right now.
Yeah.
So uh, that is my hope, that because of that, the folks will start slowly coming back in. And I do feel like there have been more folks in there. Definitely a bunch of familiar names from the BBP Discord, but it's I do think since they introduced the choice to choose auto only
mhm.
and to have your opponent be auto only, I do think that's thinned out the herd a little bit. But
Mhm.
outside of that, it does feel in the past couple of weeks easier to get a match, but still not back to those glory days. I don't know, 6 months, a year ago, where you could just, like I said, just churn through matches all day.
Like after they removed the stupid like player rank based brackets or whatever, as soon as those were removed, yeah, those were the
Fun
golden
days.
days of, free match. But speaking of matchmaking, though, let's get into wrapping up our discussion about class match 10. So I did not make top 100. I'll just kind of start off with myself here, but I did try some interesting new teams. I think at the last podcast, I mentioned that JB, previous guest on the podcast and consistent performer, he was using a team of, I believe it was Mish, Luel, and King Mont. I think, no, Zazan. Sorry, Zazan, the new Zazan, Luel, and Mish, and it was just really interesting. Earth VCs. Mish was there to toad people or punish for like CT downs or something. It was a really interesting team. I tried that for a bit. It was fun. But I ended up on a team of King Mont, Seymour, and actually I think Luel again. So those three together, it was just this really strange combination of like various status effects and some agility buffs. And I had Keenblade on King Mont with Charm on Seymour, and just it was a really weird team. It was actually a lot of fun. And I think that was a big factor for these past two class matches, was finding a team that sort of you really enjoy using, because again it always feels like a grind no matter where you spawn on the map. It's still the same map we've seen for so long. Obviously now they're changing, but it still has that sort of stigma in my brain whenever I get on. I'm like, I just want to see something else. So I was really thankful to find that team. I think I faced it, which is kind of where I got the idea, and then I went and finished up my Seymour real quick because I had the shards that I didn't realize I hit 200, and then I just skipped a bunch of story missions to level them up, and then we brought him in on stream. So that was a lot of fun. But yeah, I didn't win a lot, or well, I won a lot, but I didn't win enough to get to top 100. But yeah, I was pretty okay with it. Got to play fun units. Lots of Mish this time. I think I played Mish for maybe 6 out of the 8 days, and then Seymour kind of replaced him in the last 2. But
Yeah, Seymour and Mish both look like really fun units to play around with. Like, they just have so much utility and kind of like off meta utility. I've enjoyed watching some of your stream, and I've used Seymour a bunch in the last class match, so I'm definitely a Seymour fan.
yeah, I think an important factor we usually talk about for these lower rarity units to kind of keep up in power level, they either need a really impactful status effect, or something, obviously agility buffs are good, but then like movement and mobility is good too, whether it
Yeah.
be a teleport, having move and jump up or something like Shikuchi, whatever. So like Mish, well, both of them having thief lore, I think is a huge part of why they're so useful. Because if they were just like 3-1 slow, low rarity units with, low utility, they'd be all the ones we never see, right? So
For sure. I think Seymour's only downside really on the mobility is he only has jump 1, but on that
sure.
nice flat map, it didn't matter
Yep.
ultimately. So kind of perfect map, I think, for his skill set, and he definitely has the agility to keep up.
Yeah, exactly. So Locke, how about you let us know how the rest of yours went?
I mean, I think the last time we talked was like day 5, right? So then the last 3
Yeah.
days, I won all my matches and ended up rank 3.
Congratulations.
Thank
The
you.
casual, oh yeah, won all my matches.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there was definitely some like really, really lucky matches, especially on the last day. I think there are 2, which I think I should have lost. One for sure I should have lost, except I got like a double reflex on Frederica.
Ooh.
And then I mean, she just killed. I think it was Black Rose Helena. So she just killed Black Rose Helena, and then my surviving Corwell killed Dwayne. So he actually was a very interesting team because he used Dwayne, Black Rose Helena, and who was the third one? Garvel, and he only used 2 vision cards. Like and the 2 vision cards
I played
were.
that guy.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really fun, like a fun idea. And there was like no damage VCs at all. So I was actually even curious if Frederica would get one shot because I was like, there's no like attack VCs. I don't know how much damage these guys would do. I asked him later on. He said, yeah, I mean, it would. Both times, both attacks were like 1 shots from Black Rose Helena and from Dwayne. But yeah, it was a very fun team. It was like a very fast approaching attack team.
All of darkness. Yeah.
all the dark units. Yeah.
I think I actually faced that guy too. Now that I think about it, I remember seeing the 2 magic units and being like, "Oh man, this could be so tough." And I looked at it and I was like, "Oh, no damage, sweet." That's part. I think, yeah, definitely.
It seemed like a surprising amount of damage to be somebody with only 2 VCs as well. I was impressed.
Yeah, definitely. I was just like, is this for real? And then I was like, yeah, okay, this is for real.
That's one of those teams you don't underestimate though, because especially if you're at that high of a rank, like as long as they're not, not Diamond Master or something, you have to assume they're somewhere up there if they're getting matched. Well, you hope so anyway. Good matchmaking sometimes. It's kind of like not respecting my Mish, right? Like
exactly.
people just walk by it and they're just like, "Oh, I'm like, you're gonna regret that in 2 turns."
Yeah.
Once he finally takes another one.
If you fight someone in Diamond Master and they're using a unit that you're not expecting and you've never played against before, don't underestimate it because maybe they're just trying to fit it in, but like more than likely they have a strategy there.
And like I could see someone less experienced just jamming their high cost characters that they know are good and just like put whatever VCs and Espers they can afford to. But I think that specific combination is probably pretty potent without VCs, so makes sense.
It could be my own.
Go on.
It could be my own like bias from some of the matches I've seen, but I almost whenever I see somebody in that like 110 to 115 rank, but they're in Diamond Master, I always go, okay, hold on, let me not underestimate this person because obviously they may have a lower rank in the grand scheme of things. If you've been playing since the beginning of the game, you're going to be higher rank than 110. But if you're here and you rank 110, then you're probably skilled enough to be working with less to get here.
Oh, sorry. But when I said rank, I was thinking like in the like standings of like class.
Oh no, for sure. I knew what you meant, but I was just more also tying in that like lower rank because that's what you see right in the matchmaking screen when it pops up. You just see their account account rank, not necessarily their class match rank.
I actually fought a level 56 in guild battles the other day. I was like, how the hell? Are there still people that don't claim their rewards like for like stories or whatever else in those visual rewards? I don't know. I think it's silly. I get it. It's kind of like fun to have the low level and be like, oh, it's that guy. But so like, it's such a loss of materials, but whatever.
For sure. And energy.
Oh yeah, and energy. Yeah.
Well.
Which I guess if they just multi all day, maybe. But so Locke,
not your cup of tea, huh?
Yeah, right. So Locke, unless you have more notes about your matches.
I mean, it was pretty much the same strategy that I talked about before. Just Because I expected to see a lot of like UR Zazans. That's why I brought Corval. And I just needed him to do like 80% of damage, and if I can do that with him, I was okay, because the remaining 20% Frederica's probably like Frederica's Sharpshooter is probably enough to take it out. And then like Corval by himself cannot kill or attack Zazan 4 times before he dies, but him and Frederica took together, and both of them have a guaranteed hit ability, can take it out, right? And so, I mean, there wasn't really any change to the strategy that I was already using. It was just that, basically, because I mean, most of the matches also were against these Earth teams. It was just that one particular match against that all dark 2EC team that threw me. but yeah, most of those matches were pretty much went how I expected.
Definitely seemed like the Zazan the Unkillable class match. Like this was his, I don't know, foray into the meta.
For sure. I mean, it's the new hotness, right? So a lot of people will just kind of gravitate towards it, but it also helps that he's a pretty good unit.
Really
too,
good,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, so between those two things, definitely. I found myself forcing him onto my teams. Like, I want to use him. He's a lot of fun. He has cool abilities. He's annoying. Let's figure out how to, like, optimize it. So I think a lot of people are probably on the same sort of boat. Daniel?
Yeah, so since our last episode, like the last couple days or last few days, whatever, I didn't go win every match like Locke ended up, but I got pretty close. I think I went like 5-0, like 4-1, but like the last day I went 3-2, and I swear, like I'm sure it's because of like in the beginning of the week I wasn't taking it seriously. I was messing around. I was testing different things and what I was having fun with. But I think I could have ended up like top 10 or whatever because of that. Top 20 definitely. But the last day I went 3-2, and like my last 2 matches were losses. And like I was looking at the points, and I was like, oh, I could have made it. But so I stuck with my my tanky 2B9S Corval. I almost like
Corval.
so. But yeah, that was really fun. It didn't. I wasn't designed to beat everyone, so I actually struggled against like the Dwayne Black Rose Helena teams. I couldn't really take the magic damage or like the stacked dark damage. So I actually lost against that guy that you were talking about, that we all matched up against apparently. So that was just bad luck. I was hoping to place high this time, but I ended up at like rank 60 or so, and top 100 in a season I wasn't really taking that seriously. It's more than I can really ask for, honestly.
Right.
Hey, no shame in top 60, man. That's fantastic. That's a success in my eyes.
Yeah, it was weird. I was not expecting to end up placing as highly as I did.
And then, all right. So Woody, let us know sort of if you use the same team the whole time. Just go through the whole class match.
Yeah, went all the way through it with the same team. My thought process going into it was, how do I knew Zazan was just going to be everywhere, right? And Evade was probably going to be there to follow, and Katone really seemed like the kind of obvious pair to pair with Zazan. So I said, okay, well, how do I counter these 2 Earth element units? And ended up going with a comp that I didn't see anybody else using from any of the streams that I caught or any of the matches I faced, but it was Dwayne, Venera, and OG Zazan, which this was my second class match using OG Zazan. First time I used them, I placed top 10, I think 2 class matches ago, and then this one I went 39-0-1. So nearly had that perfect score, and in my one tie, had I had one more clock tick, would have been able to push that draw into a victory, but it was not meant to be. But it
was it a 3-on-3 draw, or what was the condition?
No, we both had 1 unit left.
Full HP.
Yeah, full HP on 1 unit, and like I said, it was the 40 turn limit, and then like literally the next one was would have been my turn, but like I said, it wasn't meant to be. Yeah, no, seriously, silly Mont taking up 1 turn, but the taking out Zazan, like I said, really was the main focus. So my combo for doing that was Venera Limit Break, which poisons, which then goes through Immortal Spirit, coupled with Dwayne and removing re-raise. So effectively, I could take out a fully buff Zazan in 1.5 turns, because a lot of times I would go in with the Venera Limit Break, chain up that 3 hit, land the poison, and then come in with Dwayne to remove re-raise, which would typically bring them down to 0 HP. The Courage would proc, but then on their next turn, pretty much, unless they had Asuna sitting around, which I never ran into, probably because healing down limited how many mages were going to be in the meta, the poison would tick, and then boom, he was dead next turn after his move. So it was a very, very effective technique for kind of dealing with that unkillable unit. So had a lot of fun with that. It was half evade, using the Venera vision card. So that was that definitely gave some people trouble, but I definitely ran it as assuming that Venera was going to take damage, and I didn't see any other Veneras in the meta, which is strange in my mind, because I think she's a really, really powerful unit, especially with her EX, getting that single target resistance buff. It would take sharpshoots at least 3 attacks to take her down. And usually in that time, either she or Dwayne, both having move 5, were already going to be on top of whichever gunner was the threat. So it ended up being a very, very competent team. I was really, really happy with it. Having re-raise on Venera also really, really helpful. With Raryu TMR, which I still think is up there with Ziza's spells. But yeah, it's going to sound really cheesy and corny, but this class match was going on during the NBA Finals, and one of the storylines that the announcers were just beaten into the ground was how Kobe Bryant told what's his face on the Suns to be legendary, and that was like his, like, you know, that's what he kept telling himself. Devin Booker specifically, that's what Devin Booker kept telling himself, was the late Kobe Bryant's words to him, and for whatever reason that stuck in my mind. And it's the dumbest thing, I know, but like I was like getting ready going into my fights, I was like, all right, be legendary. Be legendary. And it just
from
wherever. Yeah, it just gave me that confidence. And because usually I get a little anxious going into my matches because I want to do well, but it just, I don't know, it calmed me down, gave me that focus I needed, and like I said, ultimately brought home the chip. So got to be happy with that.
I love that
be ultra rare. Be ultra rare.
I love that you mentioned that like that kind of like pit in your stomach. That's like the competitive edge, and I feel like a lot of us competitors will be able to relate to that.
Yeah, man. It's not a fun feeling. It's almost like a high in a sense. Like it's that adrenaline kind of pump that's there, and like I said, like I just don't get that from auto battle, and the only place I've been able to kind of find that competitiveness is really through manual. So it just kind of all ties it all together in a bow for me.
Especially like when you have a streak like yours was going. I mean, you like at first it's like, okay, maybe the first match you're feeling a little like pressure, like maybe my team won't work. You win that first match, they're like, all right, cool, I got this. You play for a while, you know, your first 10, 15 matches, but then you realize you're like, oh wait, I'm 15-0. Shit. Yeah. And then you get that massive pressure, like, now I can't lose. Like I can't let this go.
Oh man, and then getting that draw, which was probably 3 or 4 days before the end. It was probably 3 days before the end.
Like midway.
And there were still 2 other undefeateds that I was, you know, kind of obviously neck and neck with at that point. And I was like, oh well, it's over now. There's no way this is going to come through. And then sure enough, the next day, one of them lost. And then the day after that, the other undefeated lost. And so they, one of them, the first one that I mentioned, ended up dropping a few other games. But the other one just kept on winning. So it was like, neck and neck all the way. And then ultimately the difference ended up being the draw versus the actual loss. So winning by only 5 points, which was some of my guildmates poked fun at me because I was like, stupid draws. Like, hate draws. Draws are dumb. It might as well be a loss. But then that ended up being the deciding factor.
Oh, because draws. So draws don't do plus or minus; they're just zero.
Yeah.
Whereas
Zero,
a loss
but
at
they
a
break the
minus
streak.
5.
That's
Yeah.
correct. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's good then. So it is a little better then. I mean, I feel the same way. Like it might as well be, but I guess if there's points difference involved,
Yeah, think about it. Like if it was a loss, you guys would have been tied for 1. It's
Yeah,
weird.
yeah. So it's the only thing that made it undisputed as opposed to that tie for first, which makes it feel a little bit better. Not
you
too
guys
much.
can
It's
talk
still
shit, but
obviously
just
a bunch of respect to the guy who came in second. Like that was he played very, very well.
Do we know if the others that were undefeated for so long alongside you, do we know if they were manual players or if they're auto? Like, do we recognize the names? I don't know who
They were manual.
They
My,
were?
I believe I was like keeping tabs on the PvP Discords, like class match section, and they were. I believe both of them mentioned like they're like, oh man, I'm out of the race. Good luck, the rest of you guys.
Yeah.
Right. Dude, what's
Sweet.
the highest ranked auto that you've been able to come across from this class match?
From this one?
I think I saw somebody in like top 10 or top 20 who
Really?
I'm almost positive that they weren't manualers.
Yeah, I'm just happy that somehow the autos aren't doing what we expected, which is, they're always being someone who like cracks the kind of formula and just like takes the first spot from manual players since they, share leaderboard bullshit. But yeah, I'm okay with, maybe 1 in top 10 or something, but still wish they were split.
I kind of have the mindset that I think class match is for manual, and it's it's the only true manual event that we have in the game. I mean, some of the brutal PvE, but auto has so much. Guild Wars, Arena, obviously farming, like that's right there. Rating, that's 90% of the game right there, if not more. So I kind of wish like class match was that one clean. This is for the manuals.
Right.
But hey,
definitely understand that.
At least we're holding it down at the top of the leaderboard. So
it's funny. It's funny you mention that. The word is that the reason that we had a repeats of the last class match map and stuff was because this should have been like the pickup match or whatever that they tried in JP, and we just didn't get it on this side.
What's the pickup match? What does that mean?
I can't remember the parameters or like the framework of it, but it was, I don't know if it was like an auto tournament or
that thing, the one where like they're I think
they streamed it,
the Sato or the tournament, right? The Cabbage kind of covered on his channel, I think.
Yeah, there was some kind of coverage on the JP side.
I remember there were so many people talking shit about how on auto people were turning off Brave Presence on wall. And they're like, what are you turning this off for an auto? What the heck? And they're doing like just these crazy, like what seemed like foolish decisions with their AI. Like, what is this non-competitive bullshit? But,
there was this new mode where it was like only auto, and you could actually bring in like I think 3 teams, and then once you see your opponent and their 3 teams, then you choose your team and they choose their team, but you don't know which team you choose until match begins. So that if you bring like an all earth team and you see that they have a win team, you might not want to use that all earth team. So you can choose one of 3. Like that's what I heard, and it was supposed to be an all auto kind of mode. And instead of class match, they were going to do this, but then for some reason this didn't work or something. So then they scrapped it, and then we went back to class match.
That would at least be more fun than just like an arena type thing, because at least there's some kind of me against you decision making strategy type thing happening, but. I mean, I'd still rather control my units.
Exactly. Right.
I still think that guild battles should have the guild leader and sub leaders have to do manual matches. That'd be my favorite, but I know that'll never happen for like matchmaking time reasons or whatever. But
no, but it would be fun to have a guild versus guild with windows where you had to be on at a certain time to do your matches. So even if you wanted to do auto, but at least it was still like synced up.
Yeah, I mean, even just class match windows, like open them up for that, and then you can see who's online from the other guild or whatever, and try to like match up and do at least one match.
Or would like make it actually random, like you just press attack, and then whoever happens to be on at the same time, you just match up. So you don't actually choose your opponent,
Oh yeah, exactly.
That'd be interesting.
Yep.
Yeah.
But these are just pipe dreams.
Yeah.
All right, let's start with giving us in free matches where you can like select maps and like settings and crystals and stuff, or in private matches even, or friendly matches, whatever they're called. Where we can like crystals on and off, cost limitation, or like this resistance 50 or whatever else.
I mean, I feel like ultimately the solution to that is you guys just got to host a tournament. It's been a minute, fellas.
It has been a while. Yeah, we I definitely won't be able to for probably another month on that IRL TCG grind, but after all that, yeah, I wouldn't mind trying to get another tournament going, especially because I mean I think the community has grown quite a bit, whether it be just class match interest in general and or just the PvP Discord. Like there's a lot of new names all the time that I see, so I wonder what the turnout would be for sure. I know Long Time's kind of been MIA as well. I wonder if he would be willing to come back and help either cast it or whatever. I know Daniel, you probably want to compete, but you also love casting, so I don't know where you'd fall on that. But
yeah, I don't really have time to really do streaming or casting anymore, which really sucks. Like we were talking about, like the map changing. Like I had a dream this summer to do more commentating and to raise awareness and to like ask for videos, like people recording their matches and stuff like that. But I just ended up not having time, and it's like one of my greatest disappointments of the summer is not being able to hype up live PvP more. I know so Long Time and I talk pretty regularly. I know he was planning on doing something recently, but just like each successive week, like something came up or it wasn't the right time for it. So I think we can make something happen, like if the cards are right,
Yeah. The trick is like non-class match week and non-raid week are like the two main ones that we try to avoid when scheduling, but sometimes it's hard to predict because
you never know for sure.
Sometimes we have 4 weeks between class matches, sometimes we have 3. So and then the raid come before or after, but because it's that like give ample time to sign up and prepare, but also not so far in advance that we end up being like, oh shit, this is a week that's not good. But yeah, so any other thoughts to sort of wrap us up on the class match for anybody here before we move on to the latest releases?
I'm expecting probably a couple weeks from this coming Wednesday, the class match 11 now, where like it was the parameters we were expecting last time with like the Esper summoning or whatever plus 50% and what was it, healing down and like cost 220 like unit wise. I think that's what we're expecting, and it's the weird like snow plains map that's not the one that we were used to or whatever. And it looks small enough where like Cheeseblade might be a thing. I guess stay tuned for that like in the coming weeks or whatever.
Oh man, sounds like another OG Zazan special there. 220. Because hey, that's 200 cost units and Zazan.
Yeah, and I saw a nasty Zazan team that I did not respect. I didn't do the future sight was not with me that day. That I forgot OG Zazan can carry Keyblade.
Yeah, man.
So I kind of just walked right into, hey, I'm gonna group up and buff. And it's like, and I'm like, oh, the Zazan goes later. I'm not gonna get charmed. And he passed his Dwayne's turn, and I was like, oh, okay, so Dwayne didn't use Keenblade, so I've got a turn cycle. And OG Zazan walks up, and was like, Keenblade. I was like, fuck.
It's so demoralizing, specifically coming from Zazan too. I feel like it's just he gets no respect. So coming in with Keenblade is
he goes
Keenblade
powerful. And then he follows it up with Charm. Like he goes Keenblade, and I'm like, all right, well now I gotta go away. And he's like, all right, cool, chase you down with 6 movement, boom, Charm. Like
it doesn't matter how experienced or veteran of a PvP player you are, it still sucks to fall for that Keenblade trap, especially from OG Zazan himself.
Because he's like almost guaranteed to go 6th as well, right? So you get to tune your first 2 units to do whatever buffs they need to do, position wherever you want, and then he just comes up and he gets to go that last. You get to skip the the first player's turn cycle or whatever, and do your thing. So it's really effective. And I almost switched to it because I had the vision cards and everything because I was streaming. I knew what all of his stuff was. But I was like, you know what? I don't want to do it. I shouldn't. I'm gonna resist. I'm still using Keenblade for value, but not like a combo like that with Charm follow up or whatever. Ended up using Seymour anyway, so you know. I'll just tell myself that move 4 Charm is not as broken as move 6 Charm. But
hey, Seymour, another
works.
sneaky Keenblade user.
I actually thought about that halfway through. I was like, man, I could have had Seymour holding this thing instead of King Mont, but ended up working out decently. But Hayate was fun too. I forgot about that. So you can just like Hayate into position and just Keenblade from there.
That's his only jump too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I actually like using Kane's TMR on Zazan better and using somebody else have the Keenblade so that, you know,
dude, move 7
with move 7 and haste you're probably guaranteed to get like, you know, 2 moves like right away. So
I've lapped somebody with Kane TMR Zazan in a previous class match. It was so silly. It's just like Mr. Move 7. It's actually, I think it's my 10th team at the bottom. It's if you scroll all the way down, it says Mr. Move 7.
Yeah, that was the combo I did in the class match 2 class matches ago where I ranked top 10 was the Zazan with the haste and jump 3. It was on that map with that tall middle section, kind of the island in the middle, and so having Zazan with move 7 haste and being able to jump up 3 at the same time. I mean, the map was basically flat for him, so that charm threat just was coming from
was it the one
which
that
direction.
Had the divot in the middle, the 2 tall walls across the like road?
Yeah, it had the 2 sunken in where you started, and then that kind of it had the 2 paths down the side, or you could take the center path up tall.
I called that the temple map, and it was the one right after Mountain Road, I think.
Yeah, it was the one without there was no quicken, no healing.
Yeah. Okay, I love that map. I remember that one. Yeah, that was the first one I got to use.
A lot of fun.
Luell and Soma, I remember on that map. Okay. Yeah, I love that map. That was a really fun
that height 3 really came in handy there. So gotta get respect for those high movement units and getting that extra 7 move is just so much fun.
Yeah, he was filthy on that map. That was another time where I got outplayed hard by an OG Zazan. I don't remember if it was, you know, Charm or if it was Keenblade or what, but oh man, he gets me sometimes.
That man-eater buff, man.
Oh, that was the team. It was King Mont, Gilgamesh, and Zazan. That's what it was.
That was one I lost to.
And I got so I just completely disrespected what he was doing over there, and I got so punished for it.
They do like a cheeky transposition play with Gilgamesh.
No, I have seen that.
They just push forward.
I chose wrong on who I debuffed with Nivlu, like which things I removed, and I ended up just getting. I think I got either Berserked or Charmed or something. Like I thought I'd be able to follow up with damage, and then that wasn't enough. I was like, oh shit, and then King Mont came in and did his thing.
Yeah, but I disrespected the damage. I was playing like a bulky team. And I was like, yeah, I got barriers and defenses and shit. Like I can take the Kotetsu, whatever. Kotetsu did like 80% of my unit's life. And I was like, oh. Well,
I did hear about, I don't know if it's CM9 or 10, same map, same rules, but there was a Gilgamesh that was using Transpo with either Katone or OG Zazan that was basically doing that where he was it against you, Locke? No.
No, it wasn't me. It was somebody else. I think wasn't it Daniel?
Yeah, we were talking about
that last episode. Where you Kotetsu'd all 3 of your units or whatever. Yeah.
Just one shot them. It's because they were evade units. I was like, where does this accuracy come from?
Lasalia Blade. Nah, I mean it depends what they use, right? But
no idea.
Anyway,
he doesn't have a passive that increases accuracy, does he? Gilgamesh?
No, he just has really high stats. I mean, high stats, and then whether you use the crit Ice Brand has a little bit of accuracy on it, and then also Lasalia Blade has, you know, whatever 20, I think. So he can do fairly decent. And the Odin VC and there's
Odin VC for sure.
And Esper.
Yeah.
But all right, let's move into the last couple of releases here. Recent units. We'll start with we have to go back 2 weeks now, so we'll start with Charlotte. She's I think she's I mean, we have Engelbert, but she kind of, to me, embodies even more than he does the actual like paladin feel of a unit. She has a new job called Knight of the Sacred Shield, so another like 2 or 3 line super long name that's just a rebranding of paladin kind of, but in a little bit of a different way, to where she kind of has buffs on both sides of things. So first passive, defensive spirit debuff resist 50% for self. Noble Heart, which is a HP and spirit 12 increase, HP percent, sorry, and spirit 12. She has a reaction that is counter magic damage only, that increases spirit, and then unfortunately she's one of the units that gets the EX upgrade on her passive that just increases like by 10% or something. I feel like these buffs are typically pretty lackluster. Like until they give us like a reflex up to 25% or something, we're not going to really be too. I don't think we're too keen on these kind of buffs, but
yeah, the biggest one is that Pugilist brings it up to 50%, right? The fist counter.
Yeah. That's one where it actually feels, decent.
Like an upgrade.
Yeah. Yeah. As long as they're right next to you to punch them back. But yeah, her main job is pretty sick. So she is one of the most. We're just gonna skip right to what I think is one of the most impressive buffs in the game, which is her upgraded noble armor. It's called Glorious Armor. It increases defense by 20, spirit by 20, gives you protect and shell, and then regen all in one buff with 2 uses for 22 TP. This ability is it absolutely is. It is very well named, because that is, we talk all the time how powerful protect and shell are. There's no current method to remove them other than just killing a unit, I guess. We'll remove it, right? there's no, it's not they're not buffs to be debuffed. They're not the same kind of status. They're a status condition that there is nothing that removes them. Fantastic. You can remove regen with poison, but outside of that, yeah, I mean, it's super good. She has, a stunning edge, which is basically stunning blade, except with a little bit extra range. She has a self-hate buff that then, instead of increasing defense and spirit, the values, it's debuff resistance, which is all right. I guess if we start to see a lot more of those sort of effects, it'll be nice. I almost wish it was resist, like, defense and spirit pen or something, where, like, penetrations were less effective against her or something. Like, I feel like that'd be better than just resisting a debuff. Then she got Lightning Strike, which is a imperil effect, so 38% lightning resist down, which is pretty good, especially if she's on like a mono lightning team. It reduces counter chance, is super interesting. So if she tags somebody who has reflex, you don't have to worry about reflex for 3 turns. And then it has a decent damage mod, like 210.
It's important to note that even if she misses, the effects still apply because the damage goes less.
Oh yeah, fair. Actually, that's a fairly good point. And 28 AP isn't like a massive amount. I figured she could probably use it after like 1 turn of buffing or something. So, and then she's got a agility debuff that's in a range, and then a cross AoE. And then her EX skill for job level 25 is Grand Shout Wall. Grand Shout, she's an FFB character, universe character. Increase all attack resistance by 8% for 3 turns for allies. So it is a group buff. 8% attack resist isn't really high, but doing it across the board and to all 3 units, it could be useful. 3 uses, 25 TP. Yeah. So I mean, it's a fairly decent kit. I think the biggest win here is that Glorious Armor, and then that she can kind of support a lightning team if she can get close to enemies. But her sub job just has like a paralyzed blade, and then another sort of buff that's like Sakura's, where it takes Sakura's is lightning, light, and dark resist. This one is lightning, water, and dark. Interesting to see lightning and water in there, and then dark with no light, I guess, to make her a little different than Sakura. But yeah, so that's sort of the basic rundown on her job abilities. Then she has Sub Monk and Sub Thief with Sneak Attack and Countdown as the level 12 skills. And then her LB is kind of big. It's basically Cosmo Plume range, right? Deals with a 200 damage mod, and then it debuffs attack and magic, and then increases defense and spirit on self. It's basically a sentinel. So yeah, definitely very paladin, very lightning. I think she's a super thematic unit, and her TMR also, we just talk about that real quick. It's pretty good. It's a shield, which means it's extremely limited on who can equip it. But It restores AP 15 on top of the 12 TP from the cost, or 12 AP from the TP cost, and then also gives a 35% damage, basically Mastery TMR to self. So yeah, really cool unit. Who pulled for her here?
Crickets.
No one. Oh boy. All right. So I think the issue here is, I guess Woody. I'll pass over to you because we talked a little bit before the podcast started. But the kind of issue is with her.
For me, the biggest issue outside of me recognizing that she has a great kit, and I think Thief is a very slept on sub job, in that we give all this credit to Quicken and CT up skills. Well, then the inverse should also be true, and that steal time CT down, also very, very powerful. I imagine why the four of us did not pull on this unit is that we are more geared towards live PvP, and this seems like just AAA grade tank for auto PvP. So if you're not going to be autoing, probably not going to be prioritizing this type of unit. One of those, at least for me, that doesn't go super mega whale on this game, to just let it come to you and level her naturally, and it should be a great tank to have for auto when and if I ever get her maxed, which I imagine will be eventually.
I think another issue on top of that is she's 90 cost. So even if we did want her for live PvP, she brings that extra bit of like taxation to the team just by having her on the team. And then also sort of being a quote unquote reprinted paladin job. There's no immortal spirit. There's no like obvious saintly wall. Again, glorious armor's fantastic, but so is having a barrier and immortal spirit and those sort of things. And then her actual offensive abilities aren't incredible. Although it is nice that if you do come up against even an auto opponent, that she has the hate passive to really mess with that AI. Corner case, but should be mentioned. Locke, what are your thoughts on Charlotte overall?
For me, I mean, like, when I look at a unit and it's like, oh, for manual PvP, do I want them? I look to see if they have jump 2 and move 4. And she has move 4, so that's good. But she doesn't have jump 2. And she also doesn't have any, like, range 5 skills or any height 2 range skills, which is all, like, like, that's like a basic that I almost look for like, manual PvP, because like heights just play such a big role, except for like the last 2 class matches, but otherwise it's always so important. So I was like, okay, so she doesn't meet the basic stuff, and then does she have like something else, like like you are Zazan, it doesn't have that either, but he has like so many other things that make him great, right? Like, so does I don't know, I didn't really see anything. I like, she has the unique thing about her, I think, is that like that doom, which is like 50% chance to doom, so you put her 97 faith, she'll probably have like a 97% chance to doom somebody who has 100, sort of has 97 faith, or 73% chance to doom someone at 50 faith, something like that, right? Which is good, but I think it like 4 turns is a lot that you might lose before you get a chance to have doom go off. So I don't really see so much implication. Like I think she'll be hard to kill, but like like Engelbert, and like when I was like trying to kill Engelbert with Federico, and this was like like 2 weeks into the game, she would do like 500 damage and he would have like 3k HP. It would be like ridiculous to take him down, but he didn't really do anything. Like it took forever for him to reach Federica. It would like slowly walk towards him, and Federica would just run away and shoot him again for 500 damage. So that's kind of what I see. I mean, I think she's obviously a lot faster. She has like the T floor passive. She has more agility. She has move 4, but like I think a more modernized version, but still like a tank kind of unit like that, which suffers from similar problems for manual PvP. That's what I think.
Yeah. Daniel.
Yeah, so I like that you mentioned the monk countdown skill as like a viable tool in her kit. That was going to be like the big thing that I mentioned about Charlotte, is that or at least the question I'm asking is like, what sub job would you run her on? And yeah, I think Thief is kind of underrated, maybe underestimated. But for a tank like her, like steal time with the agility buff up, like a really like yeah, you run her in close, and you take out her opponent's CT bar. You reduce it by half or whatever. But you don't really do much else on the thief like sub job. Shadow, like, she's not gonna have like enough evade. You're not gonna. I mean, you might snipe dagger for like this the slash attack, like stack or whatever.
Confused, yeah.
Yeah. You might get the guaranteed hit if you get the sneak attack in, and like they're not expecting it or whatever. Like she runs around behind you and like gets that hit in. For like if you're up against an evade team or just an evade unit like Sazon, even though he's Earth against her Lightning, stuff like that. But it seems like there's no clear sub job like winner, and I don't know if that's like a good or bad thing. Generally, like we see like, oh yeah, this is the sub job you want to run them on. Well, so if you're using a monkey, you have the countdown, but not really much else, unless you're building like lightning stacks with pummel, maybe.
And then
Yeah. Like her main sub job, that Hallowed Aegis' blessing with like the elemental resistances, that's really nice. There's no cast time, so that's really cool. It's 30. It's like one of her biggest like TP skills that like generates AP, so that's pretty cool. 3 casts, and then obviously the thief sub. But for me, it was just like I've been getting almost like every unit recently, and I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna pick them up.
Use my break.
Yeah, like as a non-limited, non-collab unit, I'll pick her up eventually. Like she's like a fan. Well, I don't know if a fan favorite, but she's a popular unit from FFBE, and I'm a big fan of the FFB like crossovers into War of the Visions. But yeah, we'll see when I pick her up.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on her?
Really fun, really powerful, but let her come to you.
Yeah, fair. I think I chucked like 2K at her banner this morning because I already got the other stuff I was looking for, but man, we missed. Or no, I did a single. Sorry, I did a single. I got a gold book, and I was like, no fucking way. And it was Venera dupe. I was like, no.
I was gonna guess
the story. Nah, but along with her, the same week we got I believe this is our second selection quest. Right? Yeah. So the first one's Camillo, Muraga is the second one. So we have the Serpent King himself coming in, kind of not a very notable TMR. Serpent or Savage King's Great Axe. Pretty decent attack, but the initial AP 25 herself is also kind of cool, but no like damage multiplier, so not super exciting. He has a rebranded Viking main job, although notably does not have the miss resist passive to go along with it, but he does get the HP increase and evasion down passive, which actually I think that's different as well. He is a main job. Wait, what's the name of it? Savage King. Okay, makes sense. With Sub Paladin, Sub Ninja. Sub Paladin Ninja is a nice one to have for a lot of units. I mean, it gives you very generic coverage on your, you have an agility passive, you have move and jump if you need, you have defense and HP, so you can kind of go into these various builds depending on kind of what type of content you're doing. But his abilities going down, he has a barrier break with a range of 3 and a bunch of uses. That's kind of his like spam ability, so to speak. Pretty decent to have. Then he's got a sweet self buff called Serpent King Stance. It is a defense 25 buff, spirit 15 buff, defense penetration 20 buff, with a decrease in healing power. So the decrease in healing power is, I mean, it's a fair, detriment, but I think those other 3 are really, really solid to have all at once. He's got Sorcery Shear, which is probably one of his coolest abilities. It hits all 8 spaces around him for 165 mod, and it cancels ability activations, kind of like a jamming thrust, while also decreasing magic on targets. So that's a really cool thematic anti-mage sort of ability with an interesting range. I don't know how many abilities we have that do that sort of all around you type thing. I think there might be maybe one other skill. Typically it's like one side, right, that do all 3. Then we have just a damaging move, range 3, height 2, pretty good for a Viking style class, with a 30 human killer buff, which I thought, as I'm reading this, I actually just had to like fix what I was about to say. I was gonna say, oh, it has like 30 man-eater on it, but no, it's actually just a 30% human killer buff for self for 3 turns. That's kind of insane. Then his next one is Mad Tyrant's Reeve. These names are great. Increases slash resist pen for self on this attack, it seems, with a 200 damage mod and a chance to slow. Short range, though. We'll see how much use he gets out of it. And then his last move is a move that attacks all 3 spaces in a line and with a chance to stun. And yeah, interesting unit. And then, sorry, sub job, Runebringer. Sacrifice some HP for a debuff resistance, 100%, which is pretty good. With a chance to berserk, not so good. And then absorb health by 120 with a 121 mod on just kind of a, a line of 3 in front of you sort of thing. Not like a straight line out, but a horizontal line. Yeah, so interesting abilities. He does not have resistance to berserk, so he could just screw himself there. Have you guys gone for him yet? Has anybody earned him? We'll start with Daniel this time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I think we all got him. No, I got him.
Hey, I don't even have Camillo, so.
Oh, whoa. Yeah, so I was. It's weird. Like like you look at your elemental masteries every now and then, and like sometimes they might surprise you. Like we had Mako on last time, and he was talking about having his Earth one maxed, and I was looking at it like afterwards. I'm like, wow, I'm only like a level behind him in terms of like I don't have what's his face, Mustadio. Otherwise I'd be like neck and neck with Mako, and it's just like it's weird, so I don't have a lot of the Earth units X jobs like up to 120, and Muraga is under that banner. I have him at 99, and I actually kind of like him. He's more of the pain in the ass than I was expecting, and I think his TMR is a little underrated. I would trade. It's basically an initial AP up from like the Red Mage job, except for it's actually more. It's like you start with 25 more instead of 15 more. I like that more than like a 15 slash attack mod. You have more options. Like you can out the gate, you can just load up the damage like maybe over a couple turns. And he doesn't have any lack of TP skill, like AP generating skills. From each of his jobs. It's like Ninja, Paladin. They both have like 20 to 30 like TP skills, TP cost skills. And even his main sub job, like the Ruin Bringer, that it's like 22 TP. So like he has no lack of like AP generation, and just being able to start like out the gate with it too. I think that's a really cool dynamic that we're used to, like jobs like Lancer, or maybe not Lancer, but like I know Dragoon and like Ranger, like they really suck at AP generation. So like not really having to worry about that with this with this guy, that it's easy to build him. I think that's a really cool dynamic to have, and kind of unexpected for like a unit for free.
Lot.
So I haven't got him yet either. I've just been really lazy, but I actually think he's pretty good, especially for like manual PvP, because like he comes as Shukachi, which has like +1 move jump, which is already what I'm looking for, and he has a couple of those skills that have that height range 3. But I think sorry, not height range 3, range height 2. But I think like I think he comes in as that missing like Earth piece where you can carry Keenblade. So if you have him and like you are Zazan and Kitone or something, you can have him carry that Keenblade and rush faster, right? Like if you're playing against like Gunner or something, you can be at them right at the end of like turn 1 or something like that, right? So and like like that TMR, in my opinion, is really what like people can't see. Everything else you can kind of plan for. You can see the units, you can see their vision cards. So you really want to make use of that like extra unforeseen something, right? And I think he's able to bring that in for like a Earth team. I think that's what makes him so good. I don't think he's great for running outside of Earth team. Like I think he'll be okay, but I think he's like fantastic for running in like a mono Earth team just because of what he brings. Yeah.
I'm actually very shocked that Daniel did not mention that he's access to Doton. In that, obviously he does because he's a sub ninja, but I feel like normally one of your favorite things on a unit is having a typeless ability like that to make up for the rest of his entire kit being slash.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know. It didn't really register as much on my radar this time around, compared to like the other stuff that like jumped out at me.
Yeah, because while Locke was talking, I was like, wait a second, does he have all slash attacks? I'm like, oh, he has Doton, sick. He has the
Yeah.
sort of like the backup just in case. But Woody, how about you?
I have to also admit, I haven't done the event, whatever necessary to actually have him on my roster. Just like similar to Locke, been a little lazy with it. Been on vacation. This is one where I'm like, I look at it on paper, I'm like, everything looks great. Like if you look at every single one of his skills, it's like, okay, it does damage, but take that away, every single one of his skills also does something else.
Yeah.
Which is really cool and not necessarily common for a lot of units. And he can get through any kind of resistance that you have. You know, he's got defense pen, he's got human killer, and he's got slash resistance penetration. So you can't not receive damage from him, which I think is a really cool thing, kind of similar to Black Robe Witch Helena. And there's just a ton of utility with it, you know, stun, slow, all these things, really, really powerful. Immortal Spirit, and really, really bulky, and his attack stat is just through the roof. So also getting that move forward jump too. You know, there's a lot to like here. I will eventually build him. My Earth MRs are in a pretty decent spot. I'm not going to write home about any of them, but you know, they're all kind of up there. I haven't finished Camillo, but of all of the selection quest units that we have foresight into, I do think Muraga is probably the strongest of, or the most interesting of all of them for me.
I did not realize that he had like 608 attack. He's second in attack behind Shadowlings. Holy shit! Actually, this reminds me too. I just saw Seymour's at like number 8 with like 548. In the class match, I ended up using. Oh, I'm sorry. I actually didn't use the well. It was 9S. It was Kingmont, 9S, and Seymour. And when I did the attack percent buff from 9S, what's the ability called? I can't think of the ability, but it gives you accuracy and attack.
Assault field. Oh, assault field, yeah.
Assault field, yeah. Seymour, I think, had 1600 attack.
1542, I think it was.
1542, not 1642.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, that was 16.
Just round it up.
It was fine. A shit ton though. It was so much attack. I was like, oh my god. these EX like high base. Yeah, right. These EX base attacks are nutty. I cannot imagine like a Shadowlings or Muraga. Even Venera's up there like 595. Holy crap. Just like putting the attack buffs on them. Yeah.
Yeah, the Venera EX don't play, man. She's legit.
That's pretty sweet. And it's cool she has the missile type too, so she can use that gigantic attack value with missile damage, which we don't always get to see from... I mean, Frederica has got a lot more now, but she's still not, you know, topping the charts on... Yeah, she's still like 30th in attack.
Yeah, it's funny you mention that, because that Venera, like I said, one of my favorite units in the game. I've literally never used her gunner subjob.
Really?
It's always either been assassin or thief.
That's interesting, because I've always loved like her shotgun blast. That's what I always call it. The spread shot, whatever fuck.
Horizontal. The split shot or horizontal.
Horizontal, yeah, where it's just like a wave. It's just I've seen people just melt entire teams, especially like back when Venera first came out. My old guild leader, yeah, there's this one map where people would always funnel, and she would just walk up, and he had these recordings almost every day of just like shotgun blasting all 3 units every day.
Not only her, but like 9S with like the clairvoyant astrologer VC ability, like armor, or whatever it is. He just blows people up, and like, you know, the Kodadama wielder, like the bursting light, sometimes actually surprising damage. The shotgun blast, like yeah, don't underestimate that shit. Before we get too far away from it, I just wanted to real quick mention, like, for anyone listening who maybe is kind of in the same boat in terms of like not doing these selection quests, I would recommend doing, like, there's 10 for each selection quest. I would, like, even if you don't plan on building a unit, at least get to 10. Sometimes it can be a pain in the ass to complete like every mission for like every quest, but get to 10, whether or not you do that for all the ones with beneath it. Try to finish the missions for number 10, because you're missing out on these monthly rewards. Like there's like you can get 100 prisms for that elements, like 50, I don't know, fragments of thought, and like there's
Monthly?
like one or two. Yeah. So every month you can get 100 prisms at least, and you can get them just from like skipping like 10 of them with like 10 event skip tickets or whatever. You max out. Like the last time I did it, it was like literally the first day of this month. I did like a skip of 10, like 60 energy, and ended up getting like 200 prisms. You can only get 100, so it tapped it out. But I would get to 10, try to do all the missions for 10 for every selection quest, and just cash in on those rewards and just forget about it for the rest of the month.
I definitely didn't know that was a thing. There was like a monthly reset reward for it. I thought it was just like you play these, you earn the unit, and that's it.
Yeah.
All right. I have to break out the MRs one of these days then. I gotta finish I think Liviel is the one that I want to use that I don't have at 99 yet, but we'll get there. She's like 20 shards or less, so yeah, so I think although not all of us have him, I do think as we sort of agreed here that he does seem pretty solid for live PvP. Whether or not, I mean, maybe it is just for Mono Earth, but in general, I really do like his kit. And like you were saying, Woody, just having relevant effects attached to these various ranges and forms of damage seems pretty sweet. But if we have no more thoughts about him, we can move into this week, which we'll start with the other non-limited unit, which is Velric, before we get into the spice for the week. So
Oron?
Yeah, right, Oron. Yeah, basically. Oh, don't hurt me like that, man.
The way of spelling that.
I love Oron. His two-handed physical greatsword main job with Pugilist Soldier subjob. We're seeing the same thing here, except it's with Nightblade. I definitely wish there was at least one of those subjobs different, just to make it feel different, but whatever. I love Oron. Maybe having two Orons would be great too. He does have 25 defense pen in the master ability, which is pretty sweet. His TMR is an armor piece with almost 500 HP, quite a bit. 10 defense, 10 accuracy, decent spread. The skill is a 15 defense buff and a bravery buff for allies. I do like the bravery one because I believe it's another one to train your bravery if you didn't get Cecil maxed out, which is pretty sweet, being non-limited. We kind of know generally what Nightblade does by now, but he does get a couple upgrades to his. So the first is a passive, which is Nightblade's Secret Arts, interesting, from Nightblade Mastery, which adds, on top of the 30% attack and the 25 accuracy, you get increased healing power for self. It's a very strange,
peculiar,
thing to have attached to it. I believe it will help with the lifesteal on the Drain Rush, which it looks like, looking down there, he does have an upgrade on that, but
yes,
he also gets a counter upgrade. So he not only gets a passive or a counter upgrade, he also gets a passive upgrade, which is really, it's like, there could have been like one more skill in there, but his flurry counter goes up to, oh no, that's not an EX buff, right? That's just a pugilist thing we were talking about earlier.
Passive.
It goes 50%. Yeah, okay. So that's the flurry enhancement passive. Skip that. His Drain Rush becomes Drain Assault. So same damage mod. It says absorb NAN%. I'm assuming, is that just all of it?
No, I think it's 60%.
Those were 60. Yeah.
Why does it say this? I'm so confused.
It's like,
it said 60 before I looked at it.
Yeah, it's bugging out right now or something.
It's like sodium nitrogen % right now. It also gets an additional range though, which honestly, Drain Rush being 3 range is pretty sick. Like even like 9S and I believe, does King Mount have Drain Rush?
Yes, pretty sure. Did I say yes?
He's a resist.
No, okay, sorry. I was thinking 9S.
Yeah, he has AP Drain. I don't know, whatever. I actually don't think he does, but 9S definitely has Drain Rush, and I use it all the time on him, especially to chain when on teams with Kingmon or 2B or whoever else. Giving an extra range would be super impactful because, I mean, the most prohibitive part of this skill has been the range 2. Especially on maps with like the pillars and stuff, sometimes you can't maneuver in a right way to get to that range, so having that extra is beautiful. And then his job 25 skill is Midnight Wall, which is a physical barrier, or it says Oh yeah, 3 times. So it's a barrier of 50%, which is pretty good. So you can kind of stack that up with a. If you have another way to give him like a magic barrier, you could stack them both up to kind of build your own mastery TMR plus some. And it's high TP value, which is nice to see on a buff that you generally want to use at the beginning of the game. So yeah, obviously I felt obligated to pull for him. We did it. We got him. So my Ice Mastery will continue to climb. But did anybody else pull for Velric and or have any thoughts about him in live PvP? I'd lock. You're shaking your head. I guarantee. Yeah, I know you're not. Daniel, what about you?
We won't ask how much Vizier you spent, because let's keep some secrets for the man.
For me?
Yeah.
Oh, it's only 4 pulls.
Oh, holy shit! Okay.
I didn't do the step ups this time around. I actually, the shards not being on the step ups was enough to make me go to try for the pity bars, and I got him on 80%. So the first time around.
I thought about pulling on his banner, but I was like, he's another non-limited, non-collab unit. I'll pick him up eventually. I'd really like to have him. I enjoy his theme and his kit and stuff. Obviously, like I pretty much want to collect every pugilist or monk or fist like striker. But I was tempted by his step up. I did the first 3 steps. The third step is free, obviously.
Right.
Second step was for the Awakening Prisms ticket for 300 of those. I don't expect to ever miss out on those in the near future because I keep running out of prisms. It's super annoying.
Oh, is it a prism ticket?
Yeah.
On the second, I might have to do that too.
Yeah, so I might be doing that for the near future in terms of step ups. Instead of like banner pulls or whatever. I didn't get him, but I'm collecting his shards. I'm doing, the daily, like, whatever, 25 million gil purchase, the pulls. But I do not have him yet. I don't expect to pick him up before his banner's gone, but I'm looking forward to building him.
Actually, I think the biggest detriment is I don't think I built 2 Oron Greatswords. So if I'm going to use them together for like the thematic sort of, ice big sword bros team,
you're right. I'm halfway through. I'm halfway towards saving. I'm halfway through the recipes for like a second ice brands.
Oh man,
I'm tempted to use those ice crysts for the second, two-handed, Orn's katana, whatever.
And then what about you?
So before we get into that, let me get this straight. So you made 4 light swords, but didn't make 2 of these ice ones. All right, I just want to get that out there.
You're talking about me?
Yeah, you, man.
I didn't make 4 swords. I said I wouldn't maybe want to. I made 1, and I have enough to make I have enough recipes to make like 4, but I did not farm enough of those materials to make that many.
Yeah, you got to be a madman to get through all that.
I had enough to make 4 in recipes, but I was only able to make 1. Like with the actual, I think it was those little like fucking light bead things, whatever those were.
Oh right,
yeah.
You had to get a ton of those.
Yeah,
thousands.
Drops were nuts.
Anyway, I did not pull for him. I do think he's another one of these really interesting units. I think the timing of his release is quite unfortunate, given some of the foresight that we have of some of the limited units that might be in the not too distant future. But I do find the healing up passive combined with the EX buff on that Drain Rush for the absorb to be really, really interesting. I'm assuming they stack, but if he just can go in there and chain that up and just start absorbing back a bunch of lost HP with that barrier that he has on top of it, and what does he have? 6 passive defense, something like that. So I imagine you can get him pretty tanky, and then sleep and disable res. Sleep becoming more relevant as kind of time goes on. I think with Summer Catone, I think sleep's going to be a little bit. You have to at least be aware of it, whereas in the past, you never had to think twice about it. And obviously, disable res, you love to see it. So a lot of fun stuff on his kit. Just like Daniel said, non-limited. He'll come to me eventually, and I think that's the right place to put him. But yeah, I mean, if you like ice units, and he's got a lot of fun stuff in his kit.
I think something cool about the healing power too is thinking ahead to if I were to build a mono ice team, I probably have either Freyavia or Rosa on that team in order to provide support. And since he's unlikely to be a unit I'd have 97 faith on, having that extra bit of oomph on the heals would be pretty nice. Because I mean, I'm using that passive anyway for the attack percent, the accuracy. It feels kind of mandatory. Self-sacrifice, not so much. And Warrior Spirit, I mean, he has no shortage of attack percent buffs. You may go Warrior Spirit or Flurry enhancement on average, depending on what you're trying to do, accuracy, more health, whatever. But yeah, I think that just having that on his kit is really cool for the units I'd be using him with. Which going forward, I think Mono Ice is something I'm going to really try to focus on.
I think it's worth mentioning, real quick, sorry to interrupt.
Very good.
As I'm sure we're intimately familiar with at this point with these class matches with the healing down. The healing power buff also helps for incoming heals. He can afford to have a lower faith if you don't intend to use him for like status effects or whatever, and still have that healing power buff and still get like a higher rate of healing from healers.
Helps with crystals too, right? I mean, even just that. Because crystals are like cut really far on the healing as well when you pick them up with the healing down class matches. So I mean, it might help there too. I don't know how those percentages multiply together, but
yeah, I don't know who's in charge of the math department over at Square Enix, but 50% down seems to be more like 90% down by my math. So
it sure is. Yeah, it's because it's in and out, right? Like, so I'm reduced by 50 and the receiving is by 50. So then you think it'd be 75, but apparently that means 50 plus 50. But we'll cap it at 90 so people don't get pissed. That's what that seems like.
Yeah, maths.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, on to, I think, the star of the show this week, which is Summer Kilphe, also known
I thought I was the star of the show.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Also known as Symphe, I think. She has what I think one of the craziest, exciting TMRs in a while. I don't know. Something about this just really appeals to me. So restoring AP by 20 for self, on top of the 20 TP cost giving you 10, and a shell with agility attached, and at 303 HP, like having above that 300 mark in HP alongside agility is pretty crazy. And 8 spirit, it has as an accessory. Yeah, it's I think pretty crazy, and 2 uses.
Very solid.
It's a massive AP generator. Grants you shell, which is pretty important right now specifically, but even, I mean, it's a pretty generically useful thing. It's the second time we've talked about shell this podcast. I will never not be excited about protecting shell. I guess until we start getting common ways to remove it, but it just hasn't really happened yet. I think before we talk about her skills, who went for her?
I went for 150.
Guilty.
But I didn't get. Yeah.
Nice. Did you didn't get her though, Locke?
No.
Oh damn. And then what you did get her?
I got lucky. I told myself I was going to do kind of similar to what Daniel talked about with Velric, the first 3 on the step up, and got her on the free pull. So
hey, there you go.
Nice.
Very happy with that decision, because I really did not want to go all the way to pity on her, and I didn't have to. So I get to word the viz a little bit more.
And then Daniel, how'd your polls go?
I've been getting really bad luck with 9-step pulls lately. I whiffed on her on all the 9-step steps. I was trying to remember for a moment. Like, did I get her on like the paid 3-step, or did I just get her on like the first pull on her own banner? But one of those two.
Oh, actually, now that you say that out loud, I got Velrik on the pay banner. I forgot that I went to 80%. I looked at my Viz total, and I was like, shit. I'm like, I can either do 2 more pulls to go for the pity 25%, and because I was going to start eating into my paid anyway, I'm like, or I can do 3 pulls for a 50%. I'm like, math has to go here. So I feel like I wasted a pull on the regular banner. So I did 4 on regular and then the 3 on the pay. So it did take a little bit more for Velrik, but I did get Kilphe on the 4th pull on her banner. Like, without the paid.
They're getting us a little bit with increasing the rate to 50% on these paid banners. It used to be 25%. I think more people are investing in the 50%.
I mean, it used to be 33% sometimes too. They'd only give us 3, but like, it was an even split. Yeah, I mean, it used to just be even splits. If it was 3 units, 4 units, whatever. But yeah, it definitely helps to see that 50% versus the other two. Obviously, it feels a lot worse when you don't get it. Because like, man, it's higher. It's twice the chance of the other two. But it's also equal chance to get not what you want versus what you. Like, that's the important thing. People get so pissed. I think I've mentioned this before, but about, oh, I hate when there's multiple featured units. I'm like, the important number is chance to get and chance not to get. It doesn't matter what the not to get set includes. If it's another unit that's also featured, it's just that other number that
it's just that much more of a probability to get a UR unit.
Right. But whatever. I mean, the percentages are weird, and no one's gonna ever be fully happy with their gacha game experience. But
yeah, I mean, I feel like the 3 paid really should be somewhere between 80 and 100% likelihood to pull the unit. But 50%, it is what it is.
Maybe 40 20 20, or not 40. Sorry, not 40. 60 20 20. Just something a little better.
Yeah, something to just push the odds, kind of where you feel like it's in your favor as opposed to a coin flip.
I suppose the better you make the odds, though, the worse the feeling is when you don't get it.
Right?
so
Can you imagine 95.5?
No.
Hey, man, don't tell me about 95.5 misses. I know all about those 97.3 misses. So. Anyway, all right. So yeah, getting onto the unit herself, she's another one that's sort of a, I don't know if I want to call it a Viking reprint, but it's an axe class. I think the reason it feels so much like Muraga's feels like Viking, hers feels like Viking is Viking's literally the only axe job in the game, whereas we have a million different like slash jobs or staff jobs that it's hard to sort of, there's a lot of variety in those. There's not variety in this one. But anyway.
Yeah, ninja blades and axes really get snubbed for some reason.
Yeah. Ninja blade. I still can't believe they even separate that out as an individual weapon type, but that's another conversation. So at least this isn't like light axe.
So I imagine it's kind of a tip of the cap to tactics back in the day. But
you can make design improvements over time. Come on now.
You're not wrong.
But yeah, so her main job passive is called Natural Instincts. It gives a 25 accuracy buff and 40 defense bend. So we're already starting off pretty nice there. She also has access to Thief Lore, which is another great one. I assume Natural Instincts Thief Lore is going to be kind of her default, unless you're going for a very heavy damage build, and for some reason you don't want the defense bend over the 60% attack. Acquired AP, very niche, unlikely to be something you default to, but there could be situations where certain content would warrant it. Her reaction for her unique job is 20% chance to proc on all damage, reduces damage taken. So it's basically Paladin's Guard, right? Just the same thing as Paladin's Guard?
Sword Guard.
Sword Guard, that one, yep. But moving on to her main job abilities, which some of these are the reason I wanted her. So she has the slow on this looks like a range 5 ability. Yeah, range 5 spam ability that with a chance to slow. Seems good. What's that?
Oh no, I was just laughing at it, like just the crazy range. It's like it makes me think of Orlando.
Oh yeah, the bullshit slash units having range 5 and black mage having range 4.
AP,
yeah, I know.
5 casts. 5.
Yeah, Orlando was slow.
Yeah, and this is the unit that gets the TMR that just gives you a shit ton of AP. So like one activation of her TMR gives you two of these, maybe 3 or 4 depending on her starting AP. But then her next buff, I'm just kind of skipping over the originals and just going to the upgraded versions from now on, because like realistically you're probably trying to fully utilize the unit if you pull them. So she gets Spirit Ward Mastery, which is a 40% attack buff for herself and surrounding allies. Spirit by 15 for herself and surrounding allies, and then also magic resist by 20%. So this is a really sweet thing to have on her, especially on her main job. Like there's, I think, is it Spellblade where you have to have the sub job to get the magic resist buff a lot of the time if you're main?
Correct.
So it's nice to have this just at all times as what seems to be kind of her theme, which is like anti-magic. Then you get Frostwind Axe, which is a 165 mod, which is respectable. 25% chance to inflict our new favorite status here, Frostbite, for 3 turns, and then also a 100% chance to grant regen for self, which is interesting to have like a an AP damaging over time thing on your opponent and then HP for yourself. I mean, I'm not gonna complain.
AP poison plus regen, it's nice.
Yeah, so that's actually something. Oh, and it makes it cheaper too. It goes from 22 to 18 AP, so it's almost like another spam, and it's an AoE. Really cool ability. But yeah, we were talking the other day. I say the other day. I think it was like a week ago. But Frostbite actually, we found out it damages AP, so it doesn't just like stop your generation of it. It also like takes it away. So very impactful.
That's the 5 to 10x. That's 10% of your max AP.
Yeah. I did the freeze us fight for to get my Esper up to like max or whatever, and I got hit with it. I'm like, oh, let's see what it does. Cool. And then I was like, oh shit, it's taking away my AP. Like I thought I planned for this. Nope. But yeah, then she has Call of the Wild, which is an accuracy 30 buff for herself and surrounding allies. When I say surrounding, I mean a little cross. And then also slash resist penetration by 30. All these numbers are pretty solid. So, I mean, she's got the 40% attack, the 30 slash pen, 30 accuracy, the 40 defense pen on passive. Really, really substantial numbers. Then she has a barrier break that, again, it happens before the damage is done. Unfortunately, a short range and a fair AP cost, but it does hit in the whole sort of line in front of her, within, the one in front and then the two diagonals. As axe abilities tend to, and a range high of 2, which is not to be forgotten. Then her last ability is a range 2 ability called Black Panther Punish. Interesting name. Which increases defense pen by 40. So that's an 80% defense pen on this ability in specific. 200 damage mod, and it's gonna lifesteal 40% of damage dealt. That's pretty sweet. Especially given these 120 units having such high health pools now, having lifesteal to sustain is pretty powerful. Then her two sub-job abilities are just some more damage options. One's just a 165. It helps chain. It's a 2-hit, range 3. And then Tiger Maw, which is an attack and magic debuff, 39%, a little cross AoE. So a little decent range, fair damage. Like I said, Soldier and Thief as the sub-jobs, and then she has a Light Imperil LB from range 3, no big AoE or anything, so it's alright. It definitely could be useful on those sort of mono light teams, but yeah, overall thoughts on her, kind of what made you pull for her, etc. Let's start with Woody.
Yeah, actually, so I wasn't gonna go. I'll go for it, Lark. Go ahead.
My battery's actually about to die, okay. So I'm like I will like it's like at like 2%. So I'm like I'm literally gonna die now. So I think I'll just like get off or.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Do you want to give us your last thoughts real quick on her?
Sure. I think she's interesting. She has a lot of potential. I think she comes with move 4, right? Because she's one of those additional moves on her passives. Is that correct?
She has Thief Floor. Yeah.
Yes, Thief Floor. Yeah. So she has move 4, and then she has limited skills with height 2, with that the one with the barrier break, but it's only like range 1, so it's a bit harder to use. So I don't know. She's like somewhere in the middle of the pack, like just starting out. And then because her unique thing is obviously the Frostbite, but to really make use of it, like you really want her to have a 97 Faith, and she does. She has very little disable resist and no stop resist. And I mean, as powerful as Frostbite seems, stop is obviously a lot more impactful, right? Like that's just you're done or death, right? Yeah. So I don't know. Like I'm like that's why I was looking at her. I was like, okay, maybe like she looks like a nice unit. Maybe I'll go for 1 pity. But even if I got her, I don't actually know if I'll invest in her to 120, just because I don't know how often I'd use her because of these limitations. I think she is definitely very interesting and very cool because she has like that, magic resist, like so much magic resist. Like she has spirit resist, and magic resist together in her kit, I think, and then shell on her TMR. So very interesting in it, but I don't know. Like I don't think she'd be as powerful as I'd like her to be, just because of because of all these like magic resistance. Having high faith is not really a detriment. Like I don't think she'll be taking too much extra damage from magic sources just because she's built against it so well. Mm-hmm. But like everything is going to like status effects, right? Like if like I'm comfortable running Frederica at 97 faith, for example, because the chances of her dying are higher than getting stopped because she has very little health and defenses. But Summer Kilphe is like going to be a frontline unit. You're probably going to run in and you want her to survive. So it makes her, I think, particularly vulnerable, right? And if Frostbite is what you're really going for with her, I think that's the detriment. With Ninus, for example, like he lands a stun, that's an extra. I don't plan on bringing
Right.
in Ines to land a stun, right? But I would probably plan on Summer Kilphe to do Frostbite. So that's what I think.
It's a draw to her kit, yeah. So like you want to
Right.
utilize it, and then what conflicting with not wanting to be, yeah. I get it.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, sorry,
All right,
but literally die.
No,
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks. Anyway, see you guys.
That's it. Boom, gotta change the frame now in the video. Yeah, so anyway, sorry. Woody, your thoughts on Summer Kilphe?
I really like this unit. Really liking the slow, the accuracy buff, the spirit buff, magic resistance, frostbite, regen, and absorb damage, barrier break, slash resistance penetration. Like she just has every piece that you really want for an attacker. She can, remove units from a fight with either slow or frostbite, or she can then force damage through with the defense pen and slash resistance penetration. So she's not going to not do damage, which I really, really like. And then has one of my favorite passives with Steal Time and Snipe Dagger for confusion. And then the light resistance debuff on the limit break is just like the cherry on the top, especially for the Dwaynes, the Black Robe Witch, Helena's, the plethora of dark units running around. You're going to want that. And then I feel like pairing with a unit like Yuna that can just kind of stand on the back line and just keep her completely healed up when she's not using regen or absorbing 40% of the damage done from her 200% mod Black Panther punish. It's going to be really, really hard to get through that combo of units. And getting, you can also, I believe, get Yuna to nullify magic damage with that 20% magic resistance. So you can just completely shut off magic damage from your opponent, which I think is just really, really powerful. And then she can also be built fairly bulky on the defense side with some creative gearing. So yeah, she's not going to be stopping all physical damage and magic damage at the same time, but you're probably not going to one-shot her regardless of who you bring against her, which I really, really like more of these bulky units, which is completely different from how I started playing the game on the more evade side, where you just get either you hit me or you one-shot me. So this is kind of that the more modern era of the game, where you're not just going to one punch through them, and then having all that extra utility and accuracy buff on the side of it. I love it.
Yeah, I do think she has the really, really big variety of options, especially like, I mean, you probably don't want her on 97 Faith, but there's such a plethora of like just collateral status effects that if one lands, it's going to help impact the match. And she's got the slow frostbite. If you, depending on her sub job, you could have Doom apparently on Grim Reaper, like from Soldier. You could have Paralyzed down there. Confusion from Snipe Dagger. She's got all kinds of interesting things attached. Sorry, I think I'm probably taking some things from Daniel though. Daniel, talk about her a little bit.
No, I was enjoying you getting carried away with that. That's you were saying a lot of my thoughts as well. Like I was definitely gonna run her at like 70 Faith, and I was kind of
that's kind of
on the fence on like whether I wanted to max like 97 Faither. I haven't really had much chance to play around with her like practicality wise, to get like more of a feel for her. But our friend Bodega on the PvP Discord, he was kind enough to post some screenshots recently about like the kind of damage she was taking from Black Rose Helena, like after getting buffed from buffs on both of the units and stuff. She was taking like maybe 30 to 50% of her health from like some of Helena's like big shot damage skills. So that was surprising to me. Like I wasn't initially super excited about this unit. She's cost 90, she's limited, but I have started shifting to more of a save for limited units and eventually pick up non-limited units, so
sure,
that plus her TMR I think is really nice. That was a big part of me pulling for her. one of the things I wasn't excited for is like actually her spirit and magic resist buff. I wasn't a big fan of the hybrid nature of it. Like generally when you're stacking defenses, like you're stacking like attack resistances or you're stacking defense or spirit, whatever, you wanna stack more of one. But it's interesting, like the more we have these defense penetration or attack resistance penetration units and abilities and skills or whatever, it's interesting how like hybrid skills like what Summer Kilphe has,
Exactly.
they're actually they can be a benefit instead of a
Mhm.
detriment. So yeah, I've never really been a big fan of like Vikings and like axe characters. Like they haven't been well represented. Like Yerma just gets trash talked all the time.
Rightfully
but
so.
but Summer Kilphe is actually probably going to be like the first axe user where I'm like, oh, maybe I should build a +5 golden axe or just use Muraga's TMR and just try to compensate with the rest of her gear.
Probably Steam
Um,
was an interesting one for her, actually. Yeah.
yeah, like
You
instead of
sold
using
me a little bit on the
the
giving up
initial
the
AP,
15 mod. Yeah.
yeah, and I mean, instead of using her TMR, I mean, yeah, it's really nice having that agility, but you could use like the pod accessory, whatever, to compensate for that. But the initial 25 AP just straight out the gate, just to be able to like, I don't know, double quicken her and like get off like the frost axe or whatever.
Well, the thing is, like, if there's a difference between, so say you could go maybe do 2 attacks, buff, small attack. Maybe that's the best case scenario. You can do like 2 small attacks, buff, but you have the extra AP. You're getting what, an extra 15, so let's just call it 45 modification percent worth
Yeah,
of damage. But if you have more AP and you can do like big attack, or big attack, small attack,
yeah,
and then like skip that buff and maybe do another small 3 stalls in a row without buffing, like that's more damage per
yeah,
turns than those 15 would have given you, because your base 165 or something is significantly more. So I can
yeah.
definitely see that being a fair argument. And I think a big,
Especially
oh, sorry, what?
especially for situations where like it's almost it's not detrimental, but like in class match with the AP crystals, like you're kind of wasting a turn if you're trying to buff, like the Aziza's TMR. Like you don't really need bells if you can just run up to a crystal and just not really have to worry
Pac-Man that
about
shit. Just
yeah, I'm not, but yeah, sometimes it's not always about the AP generation.
Yeah, and I think the biggest, well, one of the biggest aspects to why her job is so much more compelling than a Viking job would be is the fact she has access to this range 5 spammy move, so that she actually can do damage while approaching. Now her AoEs are 3+1 on a few of them, so basically range 4. So that's also good.
She has a
Uh,
ton of AoEs.
yeah, so she has a lot of options for angles and ways to hit people, and then again, like we talked about with, I think it was Muraga, where everything has some kind of either on hit or chance to do something or something else attached, that it's not just like 165 damage, nothing else. Like it's 165 plus something. Yeah, definitely really sweet unit.
And charm and disable res and sleep res on
Yeah.
top of it. So
Does she have disable?
what's
Oh,
not to love?
10%, yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, sleep and charm. Now, how crazy would it have been if she had Steelheart on her thief subject instead
Oh,
of Mug?
Dude,
Now,
that's
if she, what's that?
that was actually one of my original criticisms. Like, if we had to record it last week, where like I hadn't had the chance to build her and be like, oh, maybe things are different. Like on each of her sub jobs, like there was like 1 or 2 missing things that were critical for me to be like, wow, this unit is so much better if she had these
Sneak attack would be beautiful.
soldier subs. She doesn't have
drain force.
Drain Force. She doesn't
Yeah.
have Hazard Break. She doesn't have Steel Heart from Thief.
Or Sneak
she just
Attack.
get mugged, but yeah, she doesn't have the guaranteed hit from Sneak Attack. And I was like, man, like why did they not give her these things, especially when she's 90 cost and she's limited? But I'm kind of getting sold for like maybe she is worth it.
I think it would have been too much at that point, like adding
Maybe,
a
yeah.
charm threat on top of it, adding drain force on top of it. Like you're just never gonna cut through her at that point.
One other thought on the whole, like, faith value argument, putting her at like 70. I think I get the question a lot, like especially even on stream, where people are like, oh, what faith value is your Rain? What faith value is your Freyevia? I'm like, 97. Like, but then they take more damage. They're supposed to be magic tanks to take more damage. I'm like, exactly. They can afford to have the higher value to have greedier status effects because they already take less damage. So I'm not trying to make them take 100 instead of 400 if it means that I have a chance to disable somebody like more consistently. So I think that could be one thing for her, which is why I believe like my King Mon's 70 faith, even though he probably shouldn't be, because I just want the
Same.
extra little bit for like the
Same.
disables and stuns and whatever else that may happen throughout my fights with him. So I could definitely see her being in that realm since, again, yeah, she has this Doom if I'm ever on Soldier sub, and on top of especially the Frostbite. I mean, Frostbite's the big like interesting draw to her, whether or not it hits, but it could really screw up people's plans.
Yeah, especially if you've got like one hyper carry.
Yeah.
I mean, they're done at that point. You know, they might get one attack in, maybe two, if they've like already had a fully charged bells cycle.
Right.
But then at the end of it, then they're at zero. You know, like then they
Yep.
got to start from scratch and build it back up. And usually by that point, you're nearing the end of the battle as it is. So it's very, very strong. And I am one of those guilty people who has King Mount at 97 faith. So I could see the argument for giving Summer Kilphe 97 faith, but I'm not going to besmirch anybody if they choose 70 or 97 or 50. Like you can definitely make a case for all three options, which just speaks to the value of the unit in that you have different ways that you can approach it.
Which also is sort of a like psychological extra value in like class match is you have to spend that time to check her faith to really understand what your opponent's trying to do to you with her. Because if they have it at 50, they're not thinking too much about the frostbite or any of the other status effects she could be inflicting, so she's probably doing something else. Whereas if they have her on 97, you know what they want. They want to come in at you and like hit that frostbite, hit the slow or whatever else she has based on her sub jobs that are equipped, coming in for those status effects and really trying to get value out of those. And then like you know which of your units matches up best, because if you throw in your 97 versus your 50, you know, different outcomes. So
yeah, I think she also pairs really, really nicely with Rob. There's a lot of synergy with Rob's TMR, or not TMR, his vision card, and then on top of that, you also have the Steel Vision from the Thief. So you can do some cheeky strategies building around the different variety of light units that we have 120s versions of anyway.
I think Thief is probably my first go-to for her, just because having Steel Time and Steel Vision are really nice options, and she already has some decent self buffs to supplement those when I'm not in range of enemies. Whereas like Hazard Form's the only TP skill I get from Soldier, and the damage skills there aren't really super long range or anything, and I'm probably just using the main job instead. And her sub job's all right, but it's not amazing. I guess if I had a chain maybe, but it's not typically a PvP issue. Like it helps a lot, but or it can help a lot.
Yeah, for a raid,
but not always. Well, I mean, even in PvP, like sometimes, like doing like a drain rush, like especially if I'm using like a bulky 9S and a bulky Kingmont, if I can go like drain rush into Kingmont, then you know the damage output's significantly higher. But yeah, I think the utility from Thief, especially having Snipe Dagger from range, if someone's not immune to confuse, you want to go for that high roll.
I really like Paralyzing Edge. That's why I usually have like Orin and like Gilgamesh on Soldier sub, because of like things like Paralyzing Edge.
Really?
Because of just like the paralyze. Like you don't often see units have like paralyzed resistance or a paralyzed like null buff, you know. So it's a nice like strategy to use when like you're kind of limited on tools or on time, like you know the 30-second turn timer. Oh, still my arch nemesis.
Yeah, it is only an 86 mod, which is the only thing I'll say about Paralyzing Edge. Like you want to do some damage along with your statuses. But no, paralyze itself is definitely a nicer status. Until you get your opponent that high rolls those 20% chances and just never actually gets paralyzed and it's just tilting.
Yeah.
But again, that speaks to her versatility, so that's just like rounding out the kit even more.
So
throwback to our MR matches. when you paralyzed my Margaret and she took all 3 turns.
Oh.
So 20%, 20%, 20%. That's what, a 1% probability of happening?
The thing is, that match we paralyzed each other. All 3 of his hit, all 3 of mine missed. Like on my units.
Naturally, of course. That's the way it works.
I can't believe you remembered that. But I did like some of my last thoughts for this unit. one of them was pairing them with Rob with his vision card, Flash of Insight. I'm not impressed with her luck. Like her end game luck stat. It's only like I think she ends up with like 235 or something like that. For somebody with the thief sub job, like it sucks having that low kind of score for like what her evade would end up being. Like if you're trying to build an evade team, like you wouldn't really bring like a light MR, unless like you were forced to, like you're making cuts, like budget cuts or whatever, because of limited team costs. Like, and she seems like a light MR in terms of like evade, so she's a nice like evade support, but it sucks not being able to have all evade on an evade team.
My only counter to that is if you're coming to the very, very end of a match and say there's only 15 to 20 ticks left on the clock, if you're able to then buff with Shadowcast and then hit say it's a one-on-one, the remaining unit with Steel Vision, you're now at 85 evade.
Yeah.
Plus, if you're working with Rob's vision card, which I believe gives the 20 evade, if I recall. So now you're at 105 evade. Like it's not going to be a guaranteed hit by any means from your opponent, even with her low base luck stat.
Yeah, it's a decent stacking of evade, but we've seen all too often where like even evade heavy units are still getting like a 50% chance to be hit by units that you wouldn't really expect to have that high of accuracy. That plus like all of the guaranteed hits that we've been having lately. It just like, I don't know, when evade works against a team that like isn't really prepared to deal with it, it's amazing, right? But like I think nowadays most people have at least like one answer to evade in terms of guaranteed hit or like,
well, yeah, you have to.
Yeah, so I think that's one of her drawbacks is her low like luck or / lower evade than maybe desired. I did have one more question for you guys. Do you notice anything else that might be considered a drawback for her in terms of facing other teams or other units?
Let me look real quick. I had to close her page for a second.
I mean, the not having jump 2, definitely big drawback, but that's pretty broad question.
I don't want to wait too long. What stands out to me is that she's vulnerable to ranged attackers, missile attackers like Frederica or like.
Oh, -5 there, yeah.
It's not just her natural -5 resistance, but like unless you put her on a team with, I don't know, like the Carbuncle VC or whatever, the one that like gives light missile resistance or whatever, like you really need to build her against missile resistance to try to survive. And even with that, like Frederica has the missile res pen. You got to go out of your way to try to build her towards missile resistance when you're probably going to be focusing more on hunting down magic teams with her, so her, along with, like Rob has the same issue. Like he gets like shot down with sharpshoots if you're not careful, or guaranteed hit barrages by Summer Lilith. So that to me is like one of the other drawbacks I see with her. Like it's going to be difficult to deal with missile users.
Which is interesting because, like I mentioned earlier, although she doesn't have the passive, Vikings typically they tend to have higher natural missile resist, so it's interesting to see her shift off of that. I guess it's because she's supposed to be more valuable against those magic teams, but
I mean, it's hard to evade missile attacks when you're wearing a swimsuit. Like there's not a lot of armor blocking that out.
Fair, yeah.
No, that's like the less clothes you're wearing, the more armor you have, right?
Yeah,
Isn't
right.
that the way it works?
Unless you're playing WoW, then it just matters how big your shoulders are.
Oh man.
But besides, were those the last thoughts for Summer Kilphe? I don't think I have too much else to comment on other than I'll have some feedback maybe in the next like week or two with when I actually get to start using her.
I mean, I think fun unit, but definitely not game breaking.
Yeah, exactly. Which is a good place to be, right? Like a lot of interesting tools and reasons to use, but not like must pull, because otherwise those feel awful, right? I hate when there's a unit where like there's fear of missing out, which is just like, oh, I think this would be cool to have, and then there's fear of missing out, like I feel like I won't be relevant. Like that's a very important distinction, and I think
like when Yuna first dropped.
Yeah, Yuna. I was thinking about this
Mama Helena.
Yeah, when I was taking a shower the other day, I was like, I don't know how this came up, but I was like, man, if someone asked me what were like mistakes in the game, it was like Yuna's kit would be one major one. But I remember why I was planning for, I don't know if it was for the podcast, like I don't know if it was that same day, like when we were gonna record or whatever, the first time around, but yeah, I had a bunch of like questions going through my head, and that was one of them. But.
I just wish they gave her Esuna.
Yes, yeah.
Yuna, yeah,
That's fair.
Yeah. I do have one question if we're winding down here.
Sure, yeah.
I need to know about that chair behind Senior Deanna Boone over there.
There you go.
What is that? I need the story.
Oh man, the story is that I'm over at my girlfriend's parents' house in the basement, and there's obviously a bunch of stuff down there. This is what they use for storage. It's funny, like I don't remember if this is like an SCA thing, but so that's a shield, and it looks badass. It's a phoenix for those. I'm sure we're all aware what a phoenix looks like. It's my girlfriend's dad owns that, and like he used to be like he used to like train in some kind of sword fighting like group or something like that. And then so he's I don't know, that's kind of the story, is like that it's his. And it's weird that like I'm like the girl I'm dating, like her dad is into sword fighting. I'm into sword fighting. I help people get better at it. Like we have we have like sparred with each other a few times. I'm a big LARPer. I won. I'm younger. I'm more spry. I'm more practiced. Like he's out of practice. He hasn't sparred in a long time. But like I'm a LARPer. So like I have a shield like that, but except for it's like a heater shield where like it tapers down to a point, you know. And mine is a griffin, whereas his is a phoenix. It's just weird, the parallels. Like her dad and I are so similar in multiple ways, and like my girlfriend hates it. She's like, she hates it when like people compare her dad and I. It's just
some Freudian guilt there, I suppose.
Somewhere in that the electric complex.
It was sitting like next to some shelves or whatever, and like I was setting up because this is my first time recording down here. And I saw that, and I was like, I want to put that in the background.
Yeah,
yeah. I remember you intentionally moving the chair. I was like, why is he getting up? Oh, okay. That was before you got on here, Woody.
Thank you for asking, by the way.
Oh man, no. How could you not? It's beautiful. Look at it.
But yeah, I think that does conclude us for this week. We will touch on the golden anklet next week, which I think is another big talking point, but that may warrant a longer conversation than I think we have time for today. But Woody, thank you for joining us and kind of giving us your insight. I think I appreciate that you went beyond just this class match and sort of talked about just like kind of theory in general and how you've sort of developed your thoughts on live PvP. But we'll definitely have to. I kind of want to do. I've been thinking of doing like a round table thing sometime, but I don't know how chaotic it would be. But Woody, I'd have you back for that if we ever did it. Just have like 8 people or something, like all different like old past guests or whatever, and have everybody talk.
I would be honored.
But I don't know if I have to think about the logistics. I've been wanting to do it, but it's a lot of voices at once.
I'm thinking you guys got to do some. You got to cast some live PvP matches, and with commentary coming in, and maybe even getting the telestrator out and breaking down, so like pausing it because it's not live, right, and then going into some potential strategies.
I have a projector. I can put it
PvP how-to guide.
I can do a projector and like. Because I have one, I haven't really set it up yet, but put it on the wall. I could like stand up and just like right here. I think they should move this spot. Like this, if it comes down here, and like draw lines.
Yeah, break it down.
The football sport, like the commentators are like.
Yeah, exactly. I have it on like a whiteboard so I can draw stuff and then erase it. But anyway, yeah, there's so many ideas for content, but just got to find the time and the people.
So many hours in the day, right?
Like I still want to do hand and brain, but we haven't gotten there yet. So.
Oh yeah.
Anyway. Thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you again, Woody, for being on the cast. I've been Zach Bro.
I've been Dana Boone. Locke has been Locke.
Yeah, right.
I've been WoodyWins.
And we'll see you next time.